Hey everybody, welcome to Gregsbeerreviews. Let's go see what's in the fridge today. Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by Gregsbeerreviews today. Today's beer comes from Founders Brewing. This is their Frootwood, F-R-O-O-T-W-O-O-D, 2017 edition. Brandon C. down in Texas sent this to me, and the label has been trying to peel off of this thing. While it was in the fridge, I had to tape the label back on, and when I got it out, now the upper label is trying to peel off of it. So they got a problem with their glue machine or their label machine, putting enough glue on it or whatever there. The labels, all the labels won't peel off of it. So, and this is, according to Untapped and Beer Advocate, this is classified as a fruit/vegetable beer. I don't buy a whole lot of those. I'm not into the fruity beers. I'm not into the fruit vegetable type beers, but it is what it is, and I appreciate Brandon spending his hard-earned money on it, picking it up and sending it to me. This is an 8%er. I don't have the IBUs here on Untapped. I don't think it's on Beer Advocate, and I'm pretty sure it's not on the bottle. Commercial description on this one says, we took a crisp, light-bodied cherry ale and hid it away in oak barrels that have held both bourbon and maple syrup. After a lengthy stint, they don't say how long, it emerged a changed beer blanketed in notes of warm vanilla and earthy sweetness. The wood proves itself star in this beer, adding depth and taming the tart cherries, while the maple imposes a velvety texture that lingers for not a moment too long. So, we'll see what this beer brings to the table. Like I said, guys, I don't buy a lot of this type of beer, and we'll see. We shall see. So, that is all we need to talk about. It does have a bottled on date on the back of here that says bottled on 12/20/16. So this is the 2016 edition, evidently. I brought up the 2017 on Untapped, but I'm sure it's probably pretty close. Close enough, anyway. So let's get it open and get it into the glass and see what we got here. A little bit of hiss, a little bit of smoke. And while I'm pouring it, oh, it's got a nice cherry color to it, looks like. Beer Advocate says food pairing is salad. I don't drink a lot of beer with salads, guys. Flash bar, pint, becker knife, tumbler mug, side down. I'm using my favorite tulip glass today, guys. And it says here not recommended for extended celery, because it is an 8%er, so I don't know what's going to fade on this beer if you get choose the celery. Didn't pour much of a head. It has got a slight reddish cherry color to it. It's kind of cloudy in the upper part. I can see light through the thin part, but not a whole lot through the big bold part here. So let's get a nose to it. I'm getting cherries. Maybe a subtle hint of some bourbon in there. It does have a nice sweetness to it. Maybe that's from the maple syrup. Nothing is standing out big time. The bourbon is not, the maple is not, and the cherries is just a slight cherry aroma on the nose. Taste may be a little different. Let's find out. Cheers, everybody. Cheers, Brandon. Alcohol is very well hidden in that aspect. And the barrel aging of this The cherries may have been a little tart to begin with, but now they seem to have mellowed out. The bourbon is not outstanding. I mean, I was expecting a little bit more bourbon than I'm getting. If you didn't tell me it was in bourbon barrels, I would not know. It is that subtle. Now, it might come out a little more once it warms up. But right now, it tastes like a cherry ale. So, but it is a smooth drinking beer for an 8%, I will say that. So let's let it warm up and see if I can taste any more of this bourbon and maple syrup and see where it ends up once it comes up to room temperature, and let her taste it, and I'll be right back. Alright guys, I'm back. If you didn't tell me on the label that this was bourbon barrel or with maple and all that in there, I'm just not getting it, guys. Now that it's warmed up, it tastes like a cherry ale. It's a very well made ale. I will say that right on top, because the alcohol is non-existent. It's like drinking a 5%er or a session ale. It's hidden pretty well. So it's a well-made beer, but if they put it in bourbon barrels, they didn't leave it in there very long, or it wasn't a first-run bourbon barrel, something that didn't have beer in it before. I'm just not getting that. And I don't know what Brandon had to pay for this. If it's a high dollar beer, and I would say being an 8%er, it's probably done in a 4-pack. A little underwhelmed by the bourbon and the maple syrup notes that I should be getting that I'm not. And of course, maple syrup is a fermentable sugar, which leads me to think, unless they use lactose in it, which they may have, because it does have a nice sweetness to it, but it's not super dry like if they had not used lactose and the yeast eat all that sugar up. But the bourbon notes are not there. And if you paid a premium price to get those bourbon notes, which it says on the front, aged in bourbon and maple syrup barrels, you wouldn't know. It does have a little bit of that woody oakiness to it, but the bourbon is kind of subdued though. Yeah, enjoyable beer. I enjoyed it. Final choke. The other half liked it. She said, yeah, something different. And it is. That's where I would put it. Something that's a little different than what I normally drink. The IPAs and the stouts and porters and stuff. But it is a fruity beer. If you're not into cherries, you're not going to like this. But it's not a super tart cherry. It's not like a sour or a wild ale with cherries in it. They're more subdued, more of a sweet cherry now. So, enjoyable beer to me, guys. I just don't think it's to the A category, and that's where I'm going to put it. B+, 88 for me, guys. Let's run over to Beer Advocate, and Beer Advocate says, hey, we're in agreement. 88 for those guys. Very good, and I agree. It is a very good beer. Not something that I would typically buy for myself, because I don't buy these fruit/vegetable fruity beers. Untapped has it, and I went back and I've got this 2016 version up here, which is what this one is, and they've got it at 3.92, which is their B+ also. So it's unanimous, guys. Beer Advocate, Untapped, and me, we all think it's a B+ beer. It's a nice beer, and I can't emphasize this enough. It's a very well made beer for an 8%er. And you don't even taste any of that alcohol or booziness in the beer. It drinks very easy. You could get in trouble with this if you drink a couple of these out at a bar or something. So it's very well made, I will say that. Alright guys, that wraps it up on this one. If you've had this one, this is the 2016 edition of Frootwood from Founders Brewing. It's a fruit beer, guys. It's cherries. Basically, that's what you're going to be tasting. You're going to be tasting cherries. The hops basically are non-existent, just enough to balance out the malt bill. So, if you've had this, let me know what you think, guys. Until we meet again, let's go see what's in the fridge.